All right, everyone. So I hope that you're all ready for the Mythic Flash event to finally come back to the game. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Knowhere Heist. So I'm sure that some of you remember me talking, or other people, lots of people talking about this, but me specifically, I also brought this up in a couple of videos in the past. So we're getting a new Flash event next patch. What is this? Very likely to be the Knowhere Heist tag to come back to the game for the Mythic Flash event that was data mined. Now, why am I saying Mythic Flash event? And that's because the way that this Flash event was data mined was not like typical Flash events. So the Flash events that we have now, they just require you to have certain star levels on characters, and that was it. You know, you'd have 1 star, 2 star, all the way up to 7 star, and that was the only requirement to do the event. But now they're going to be bringing out something called the Mythic Flash event, which actually does not, from what I understand, does not actually require star levels. What it does require is that it requires you to have gear tier and ISO. You guys might remember this from the legendary events, from things like Adam Warlock, from things like Omega Red, where it forces you to gear the characters and it forces you to have them up to a certain level to get through that. Now, when it comes to a Flash event, you think of 7 levels, and this very much could be the case. But know that very likely, because you're only going to have 3 attempts, just like any other Flash event, that it's going to take you a little bit of time before you actually get to the good bits. So I wouldn't expect that the first month is going to be very hard to get through, and that's assuming that it comes every month. We do know that, you know, with Block Party, can somebody tell me why Block Party is still every 2 months? Because I honestly, at this point, I think it should be monthly. There's no reason that something like Block Party should be every 2 months. It's not even that much T4s. It's like 150. You know, that really needs to be monthly at this point. I know this is not a video about Block Party, but that part really frustrates me. The fact that it's every 2 months and all the other ones are every month. I don't get it. So because that is every 2 months, though, there is a possibility that this could also be like this, but I'm really hoping that it's not. Now, if you have no idea what I'm even talking about because you weren't around in early December when this came out, you didn't pay attention to your roster, you didn't pay attention to what other people were saying, well, then I present to you Exhibit B, and this is the Knowhere Heist roster. So these were the 5 characters that were presented at the beginning of patch 5.9. And you can see it's a very eclectic group of characters, and there are only 5 of them. Now, you know, in a lot of them, there actually is only 5. Like Chaos Theory, for example, only has 5 characters. They're all Wakandan. In this case, this is not a team tag. This is just a tag with 5 different characters, sort of affiliated, sort of not. The only affiliations here that you can see on the right-hand side are Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon. Then you have Kitty Pryde, and then you have Doc Ock, and then you have Ebony Maw. So you have, I'm going to say 2.5 legendaries. I guess it's 3 legendaries, but, you know, realistically, Star-Lord is permanently available. He's pretty easy to get now, but it's Doc Ock and Ebony Maw. So this is not going to be a very new player-friendly event. It's going to be quite a new player unfriendly event. It's going to be mainly for, you know, later mid-game players, end-game players, you know, who have who bothered to go out of their way to unlock Doc Ock, but also those who bothered to gear and unlock Ebony Maw. So remember, back to what I said towards the beginning, is that not only are you going to have to unlock these characters, but you're going to have to gear them. The interesting part is that most people don't. Well, let's start with Star-Lord and Rocket, okay? Because let's be honest, new players and mid-game players are not gearing these characters up anymore. So you may be forced to do so now. Veteran players probably have Star-Lord and Rocket, I would say at least up to gear tier 13, because they were usable back in the day for Dark Dimension 2. People would, especially Star-Lord, people would use them. The question is that now there's really no, it's not even a question, it's just they're not really that well used now, and so there's absolutely no reason to gear them. However, with this new event coming around, assuming they keep the same traits, the same characters, and honestly, I think that they will. I think that Scopely would be very surprising. I would be incredibly surprised if they changed the characters on this tag, because they've kind of early released stuff in the past before, and then they brought it back out because it was accidentally pushed out. They brought it back, and then nothing ever changed. So I honestly think that they'll keep this. There was a reason that they had these to begin with, because it was a certain set of characters that were kind of challenging, but not characters new players would actually bother to get anymore, because frankly, for the most part, Doc Ock and Ebony Maw aren't significantly used for the early game and mid game player. Now, for end game players, we are still using Doc Ock when it comes to things like, I don't know, Doom Raid Tech. You know, I still use Doc Ock for the moment, but Ebony Maw has been kicked off the team a long time ago. Black Order has been kicked down the road, and so there's not a lot of big reason to go out of your way to unlock this. Ebony Maw, don't forget, is a legendary within a legendary unlock. So how do you get Ebony Maw? Well, you need to get Black Bolt. How do you get Black Bolt? Well, you need the Asgardians. So now we're talking about Asgardians that you're going to need. Early and mid-game players or other players who want to get access to this event are now going to have to go out of their way to unlock Black Bolt, to then unlock Ebony Maw. So we're talking like, what, 11 characters or whatever you need to get to Ebony Maw. And then you're going to have to gear Ebony Maw to a certain degree. Early on, I don't think this will be very significant, but, you know, later on it will be because of the nature of Flash events. Doc Ock, you're going to need those X-Force members. And what does that mean? Well, if you haven't been getting shards for these characters, that means war credits. That means Sif. That means Sif for Black Bolt, who is in the War Store. That means Inhumans. Actually, Inhumans don't have a War Store character, do they? I can't think of it off the top of my head. I don't think they do. Correct me in the comments down below if I can't think of it off the top. I don't think they do. But X-23 for Doc Ock, you know, that's War Store. So these are characters that you don't really want to buy from the War Store now, which causes problems because there's better characters. Characters like Maria Hill. Characters like, or just gear. You know, shit that you need to get. You know, so a lot of people aren't going to want to pivot to characters like Sif or X-23 now to get these characters if they don't already have them unlocked. Now, if you already have them unlocked, great. You're just going to need to put some more gear into them, you know, if that's what you need to do. Kitty Pryde, this is a very interesting one because for veterans, this is going to be no problem because you already have Astonishing X-Men, very likely. But for early and mid-game players, people who are not really considering Doom Raid Mutant at this time, didn't really bother to invest into Kitty Pryde, this might be a possible issue for some people. I don't think, like I said, star levels are going to matter. I think it's solely going to be ISO and gear tier. Because there's going to be, if we assume that there might be 7 levels and that you get 3 attempts, that means that there's going to be, let's say, starting at gear tier 9. Let's say gear tier 9 is the starting point here, and we go 9, 10, 11 to start on the first round, 12, 13, 14 on the second round, and it could end up at gear tier 15 in the final round. Now, on the third month. Now, why is this an issue? How many of us want to think or even contemplate gearing Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon to gear tier 15? That doesn't feel good. You know, given the fact that we don't use them right now pretty much, unless you're using a really niche, like War Offense team or something with Star-Lord maybe, but otherwise you're not using Rocket. So the idea that you might have to gear tier 15 these characters, especially these two, really doesn't feel very good. Now, maybe that's going to take 3 months before you have to do that, but still, regardless, it just doesn't feel good. The only saving grace here is that I actually have a lot of tech gear, so it won't be that hard to do, but it's something I'll do reluctantly and something that I really won't want to do until I really have to do it. So you're going to have to ISO them, you know, because that's what a mythic event means. Mythic events mean that not only do you have to gear them up, which requires a certain level, but it also means ISO classes as well. So, what that means is, get ready, guys. If you don't have Star-Lord unlocked, if you're a new if you're a new player and you don't have Star-Lord unlocked, go do that now. If you don't have Doc Ock or Ebony Maw, do that now. And actually, while we're here, oops, that's getting edited out. Okay, I gotta have to re-edit this. What I wanted to do here is I wanted to bring out my spreadsheet here of my legendary dates. So, if you're someone who needs to get Doc Ock, or if you need to get Ebony Maw, that's going to be coming around soon, at least for Ebony Maw, and we recently had Doc Ock. You can kind of see here, we have Black Bolt sort of ongoing, or just past, actually, now that I think about it. But Ebony Maw should be coming back around after Black Bolt, which will be in early February at this rate, probably, but Doc Ock already did pass on early January. So, looking at his last pass in November, you're probably looking at least 2 months after that, so I wouldn't expect him till be about March. So you might be a little too late maybe they might bring back Doc Ock before this event comes back around. It's really hard to say because of the way that they bring events back around. You maybe won't see Doc Ock come back for another pass before this event comes around, but you will most likely see Ebony Maw come back around. So if you are in someone, but you won't get Black Bolt coming around, so that because Black Bolt just passed, right? So it's a catch-22 or whatever the number is, because you're kind of stuck here, because in order to get Ebony Maw, you need Black Bolt, and then there's Doc Ock. So there's actually 3 legendaries involved here for this event, because you're going to need Black Bolt to get Ebony Maw, and then Doc Ock standalone, which just passed. So whether or not he's going to come back around, who knows really, because Scopely logic. But I really wanted to just share this with you all here, because this is probably going to be a really important event. Now, it begs the question, what is this going to be used for? And that's what people ask me all the time. What do we expect from this event? Well, I think it's going to be teal gear. I think this is what makes the most sense. I think it's going to be a relic. It's going to be like a relic hunt 2.0, because I don't think that they want to give teal gear for leveling up hand at this point. So I think that they're going to make you want to do this, pointing in the wrong direction, this, to get your teal gear. I think this makes it a lot more difficult, makes a more of a, what do you want to say? What do I want to say? More of an investment, you know, because you're investing in these terrible characters, Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon, right? Star-Lord and Rocket are not good, and this is kind of equivalent to the hand, having to invest in hand for the Catalyst Relic Hunt event, which is also hand is terrible, so you're only having to invest in 2 terrible characters at this point. Who knows? Maybe they'll have a use down the line, but they currently do not, so it doesn't feel good having to do this. You'll probably get some value out of the rest of them, so it's not a big deal here, but I think the biggest problem here is Star-Lord and Rocket. Now, if it's not teal gear, what else could it be? I mean, I'm not sure, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below what you think this could be if it's not teal gear. The only other thing I could think of would have been like Red Star Orbs, but since we already have Chaos Theory for Silver and Gold promo credits, I'm not sure they would like double dip with sort of adding Red Star Orbs and promotion credits that we already have for Chaos Theory. So at this point, I'm kind of I'm double downing on teal gear. I think that's probably what we're going to get out of this, but we'll find out pretty soon because this is going to be in the next patch, so we're going to see that in the patch notes, most likely next week, which is when the next patch is going to be, patch 5.10. So I just wanted to raise this as a public service announcement here for you all, so that you can remember that this exists, this is a thing, and that you may have to be gearing these characters up. So if you haven't done it, you'll want to consider thinking about unlocking Black Bolt. If you haven't done that, Ebony Maw, Doc Ock, all these legendary characters that are now going to be involved in these 5-person traits, and of course Star-Lord if you haven't done it at this point already, but that one's a little bit easier to do, and you can do it at your own leisure. So that's it. That's Knowhere Heist coming to Marvel Strike Force in patch 5.10. We'll probably get some more details on this possibly in the blog post, and if we don't, then we'll probably definitely see it in the blog patch notes, sorry, not the patch notes next week. So wait till then. Otherwise, of course, until next video, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see y'all later. Boilon signing out.